Welcome to the Semi-Retired Podcast with your hosts, Richard Bonomo.
And me, Dave Farrant.
Dave, this week we have a special guest. Katherine is here, a younger person's take on music. This will be Rock and Roll Part 3.
What an exciting moment for our podcast. Only the second time that we've had a guest.
So Dave, before we go, you have some housekeeping duties?
A couple of small things. I thought that, given today's topic, it would be good that we acknowledge the recent passing of Ian Tyson, Canadian music legend. And I'm not going to retroactively say I'm a huge Ian Tyson fan, but I love the two songs, Four Strong Winds and Someday Soon. Both came out in 1964. That was Ian with his wife Sylvia, Ian and Sylvia Tyson. I found out two things about Ian last week, just listening to the news. One was that he wasn't actually from Calgary, although we associate him with Calgary. He was born in BC and moved to Calgary. And the second is that the only reason we know of his name, most likely, because he was not going to be famous with his earlier career choice, which was as a rodeo rider. He got bucked off a horse, hurt his back, and while recovering, learned to play the guitar.
Well, it's a better story than I thought he was going to be the founder of Tyson Chicken.
Well, he might be. For all we know, he could be part of the Tyson Chicken Empire. Ian Tyson, rest in peace, did a great job for Canada and the world. 2 or 3 episodes ago, I gave out my New Year's resolution suggestions for all of our listeners, and I was looking at some annoying current expressions, things like reach out and everything has to be going forward. One of the ones is the fact that we can no longer call things a problem, we have to call them a challenge. I touched on this, but I thought to myself, I need to make a stronger point here, and it occurred to me that if we think back to 1970 to Apollo 13, you got 3 guys in a spacecraft hurtling towards the moon at 20,000 miles an hour, something goes wrong, what do? They don't reach out to Houston and say they have a challenge. They contact mission control and say, hey guys, we got a fucking problem. It's a main bus B undervolt. It's bad. We're leaking gas into space. What do we do? And I contend that had Jim Lovell told Houston that he had a challenge, he'd be up there circling the sun right now with his buddies in a cold, dark spacecraft. So you know what? Let's have problems again. Let's embrace problems and let's fix them.
The year of the problem.
2023, the year of the problem. Lastly, as we prepared for this episode, it was brought to my attention that I can occasionally be guilty of lecturing when I talk about certain topics, including music. And so Richard, who is very handy with electronics, has rigged up a small device, and if I start to go down that path, he can apply a small voltage to sensitive parts of my body, so I will know to stop doing that. Oh, okay, it's working. That's enough.
Perfect.
So that worked.
The voltage is good enough? Do you need it higher?
That was sufficient. No, that was sufficient voltage. Let's get underway. Richard?
Okay, so this week we're doing Rock and Roll Part 3. We have Katherine here who contacted us and said she'd like to give us her take on some of the music we talked about and introduce us to a bunch of new artists. And I'll say introduce the bunch because the list she sent us, I knew almost no one.
Oh, interesting.
I listened to the whole thing. A couple of surprises. I won't get to them, but one particularly huge surprise. I'm still reeling with the shock of my own opinion.
I think I might know who you're speaking of.
So welcome, Katherine.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here. I'm excited to show you guys new music, and I'm excited to talk about old music because that is a passion of mine as well.
That's great news. Yeah. I mean,
it's not just the boomers. It's us younger millennials as well.
Did she just call us boomers, Dave?
I think so. I think we got boomers.
Technically, I missed by 1 year.
Yeah, I'm sort of technically barely in there at the tail end of the whole thing, but
I'll give you a young Gen X or an old Gen X if that's what you need.
Yeah. Feeling better about myself already.
Oh, my hair's not gray anymore.
So give us a sense of the role that music has played in your life, with the enjoyment of popular music, how you got there, how that started.
I kind of attribute most of my music knowledge to my dad because he's the one who introduced me to music in general. My mom has little to no music sense at all, but my dad is very musical, doesn't play any instruments, but has always been just like a huge music guy. And even in listening to your previous episodes of this particular podcast, I did recognize like a lot of the stories that you guys would tell about sitting in your basement, listening to records and all that stuff. And it's very reminiscent of kind of the things that my dad has told me about his childhood and listening to music. And so I think I did actually send you guys a Spotify playlist previously called Thanks Dad for the Musical Education.
You did indeed, yes.
And that's kind of the music that I remember listening to as a kid when I didn't have a choice as to what to listen to. But I'm very happy that I didn't have a choice in that because I really still do appreciate that kind of music.
Are you saying it was coercion?
A little bit, but it was a good education, I think, and it has permitted me to also appreciate different types of music today.
We typically talk about, broadly speaking, popular music, rock music, whatever. Do you also like other types of music like jazz and classical, or are you really in the pop music, broadly speaking?
I think I sit mostly in the popular music scene. I'm not a big jazz person. I do listen to a little bit of classical, but even then it's not anywhere near like as in depth as the popular music scene. I would say that I tend to stray away from today's popular music just because I don't find it nearly as enticing as older popular music. Today, I probably listen to more indie type music. That's kind of what people would attribute, or like what genre people would attribute to the type of music I listen to today.
That was kind of surprising when I saw your list and I looked at it and I listened to the playlist. It's very similar a little bit to the original playlist you sent of the music your dad made you listen to. It's in that same style.
Yeah.
I recognized like 2 or 3 artists, and I was surprised not to see any of, what you walk into a shopping center and you hear blaring on the speakers. I didn't hear any of that.
So I will listen to some of that stuff, but I kind of wanted to show you, because I know that that's the kind of music you guys like to listen to. I wanted to show you some of the artists today that aren't necessarily on the top 40 that have the influences from the 70s, 80s, 60s, wherever you want to go with it, and are still making that kind of music and that's still out there. And I think that it's kind of in the shadows because of the top 40 and like kind of the new music industry. And so I kind of wanted to show you guys that there is still good music out there being made.
I know what you mean, and the reason for that is because about 7 or 8 years ago, and I have a tendency to think that incorrectly, I admit that sort of thing, I can sometimes be kind of prejudiced against current music.
Music ended in 73.
It was more like September 8th, 1977. After that, it just died. Sorry. But I started listening to a current affairs podcast about 10 years ago, and they would play interstitial music. And I would often like who it was. So it was on YouTube, and I'd look and it would say, music by, and I picked up bands like the AAS, Titus Andronicus, groups I never would have heard of and were obviously very different to what I was hearing on Top 40. And it proved to me that there were still musicians out there, artists, that were producing work that I could enjoy as much as stuff I enjoyed from pre-September 8th, 1977 or whatever it was. And I was like, wow, that's great. I love that. I like that just as much. Some of those are on your list, actually. Example, Hold On by Alabama Shakes.
Yeah.
Just one song. Maybe they've got 20 other songs I love. I've never gone to look, but I remember hearing that going, man, I love that. So I stick it in my iTunes library because that's how I do my music. I'm not a Spotify or an Apple Music person. I'm an iTunes library person. And of some others, Feeling Good by the Sheepdogs, love the Sheepdogs, etc., etc. And those are the indies.
Yeah.
So I discovered that, yes, I think that the music is still there. I just didn't have access to it.
It's not referred to as popular music anymore because it's not the top 40, but I think they refer to it mostly as like indie or like alternative music.
Looking over your playlist, I think we need to start with song number 1, Dave, The Kiss of Venus. It mentions McCartney.
I almost stopped listening at that point because I was like, oh my God, it's the only song anomalously enough on the list that I really didn't like. Oh. The rest, honestly, I was like, I was quite pleased with them. But the first one just couldn't listen to it.
That was my first reaction too. And I re-listened to it a second time because I said, McCartney's in there? Where the hell is McCartney in there? So
and
I listened
Paul
to
McCartney of the Beatles, right?
Yes,
the Beatles,
that is right.
Yeah, okay,
yes.
right.
So it's actually a Paul McCartney song.
Is it?
Yes. So that is a cover of the song.
And you're covering Paul McCartney.
Yeah. So Dominic Fike is a newer artist. He's quite young. He's, I think, in his early 20s. And if anybody on here knows the show Euphoria, he plays one of the characters on Euphoria. It's a very popular show with the young crowd. He's an up-and-coming artist. I think he has a lot of growth still, but because he's so young. McCartney has a few albums that are called McCartney Imagined, and they're all cover albums. So he chooses certain artists to cover certain songs that he has. Yeah. So The Kiss of Venus is actually a cover by Dominic Fike. And I prefer that version to McCartney's version.
So I listened to it a second time, and on the second listen, I enjoyed it.
Okay.
I enjoyed it. And there's a little part in the middle that's very Beatlesque. And I'm like, did they sample that from a McCartney song or a Beatles song? And that's why Paul McCartney's name is on it. But now I know better now. So if we're going to McCartney, I guess I have to go to Greta Van Fleet. Huge fan. I love Greta Van Fleet. Yeah. And, I'll defend them against anybody who complains that they're trying to sound like Zeppelin.
That's great.
Is that a knock on them?
It's
all I've heard, by the way, that they sound like Led Zeppelin, but that's not a crime.
I think it's a lot more about the Robert Plant voice rather than their entire sound. I think their entire sound is very interesting. I think they're great songwriters as well.
I like this song, by the way. I really enjoyed this song.
This is one of my favorite songs for sure, which is the Black Smoke Rising.
Black Smoke Rising, yeah. I put Love It here in my notes.
And I've watched a few interviews with Robert Plant actually talking about them, and the first time he heard it, he said, oh, this is Robert Plant singing. So I think he kind of has a little bit of a bone to pick with them. I'm not really quite sure, but...
That is his middle name. He has a bone to pick with everybody. You ever see,
he tends to have a bone to pick with most people.
You ever see the awards thing? They do the presidential whatever award, and they're honoring Zeppelin, and Hart is playing Stairway to Heaven or something.
Yeah.
Oh,
and
I know
he's
what you're
sitting
talking
there.
about, yeah.
Jimmy Page is like,
loving it.
And Plant is just looking at them, judging the entire performance.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I
I think he's a bit of a dick.
It's disappointing when you hear that. I don't know anything about him. I mean, I just know him as Led Zeppelin.
But they say never meet your heroes, so I guess.
Did you say that? Yeah.
He could be one of those people.
Yeah, if you see the Greta Van Fleet on Greta Van Fleet
Paul McCartney,
in their videos on YouTube, they're a really good performance.
Fantastic performers. 3 of them are brothers, and then I think they're
There's 2 twins. There's a pair of twins.
So the lead singer and the lead guitarist are twins, and then they have their younger brother playing as well, and then their drummer is, I think, a cousin. So it's a family affair. Did you know that they actually got their band name from a teacher that they had in high school? Her name was Greta Van Fleet. Yeah.
Oh,
or like something similar. And so
Greta
they decided that that's what they wanted to call the band.
So see, I'm likely going to go back to iTunes now at some point later this week. And what I tend to do when I encounter a band like this with no reference, I look for top songs.
Yeah.
I find 2 or 3 different sources, and where I see songs repeat, I'll buy 3 of them, say.
Yeah.
And take a chance. $1.29 a piece. Add that to my iTunes. I'm going to do that for these guys. I really like that song. And I like what you're saying about them.
The other thing too is that I know you have like your free Spotify account. If you go to their page, the first songs on the page are always the most popular. So you can always check it out.
You never stop learning, eh, Richard?
Yeah. So I guess that would probably be, of your list, probably the closest to rock music of the past. There's a lot of 60s sounding kind of stuff. I put down 6 artists that I want to follow up on.
Okay.
And now, you know what? I'm going to add this first one here, since you convinced me.
Hound dogs sound, not hound dogs, but sheepdogs sound very...
Yeah, they do.
Honestly, if you said, when is this music from? I might have guessed the 70s.
Yeah.
They're a good band, whatever. But to me, it's a bit like the New Pornographers. It's a sound that's taken so much from the 60s.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like they really evolved anything to it. It's good to listen to. It's not my thing. I'd rather listen to what Greta Van Fleet
That's another
did.
group I got off of my interstitial. I was the New Pornographers.
Yeah. So I'm Dominic Fike, Cage the Elephant, which I'd heard of before.
Okay, good.
Briston Maroney.
Okay.
Never heard of him. He's down on my list. I'm going to listen to. Alt J. Love that song, Left Hand Free. That was great.
Left Hand Free, you have to know, though, however, that is their most, I'd say, like, rock-ish song. A lot of their music is very, almost like, I'd say, like, experimental. Their first album is called An Awesome Wave, and it is one of my favorite albums to listen to through and through. It's, like, a really, really cool album. It's not necessarily as rocky as Left Hand Free, but it's a really cool album. I love it.
I'll save the other one that we were both surprised by. The other one was Noah Kahan.
Okay, so...
Oh, I liked that.
I love that song.
Season of 6.
Oh,
so he's an artist I actually found on TikTok.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know you could find artists on TikTok.
So TikTok is a wonderful, wonderful platform, in my humble opinion, besides the whole Chinese conspiracy stuff.
You mean the album by... Oh my God, I lost it there.
I think it's a wonderful platform because you can really cater your algorithm. Like, you can kind of hack your algorithm, where if you look certain things up and if you like certain things, then those things will keep showing up. And so I find myself on many different sides of TikTok, which is what people call like their specific algorithms. And so one of the sides of TikTok that I'm on is new artists. And so a lot of them will post their songs on TikTok, and if they're lucky enough, they will have their song picked up by multiple TikTok users and use sound clippets of that song, and then that song will blow up. He's one that I found on TikTok, and I actually have a friend who went and saw a show of his in Vermont a couple weeks back, and he said he was really good. I think he's pretty young still, so he's got a lot of growth still ahead of him, but I really, really like Stick Seasons. So.
I love the lyrics in that one.
Yeah.
I wrote my note here, and this is going to be controversial. It says very Taylor Swift lyrics.
The thing I wrote down, which has nothing to do with the musical content, was it was the first time I heard COVID in the song, so that obviously dated it for me. And hearing the word COVID in the song, it had an odd effect on me because it brought it right down to earth, like he's talking.
Made it real.
It made it real in a way that you wouldn't maybe normally experience, even though songs often talk about things that we've experienced. But yeah, I found that very attention getting.
And it is something that, they're going through today and will be interesting to listen to in 10 years, 20 years. We'll come back, hear the song, and it'll take everybody back to what's going on. COVID was terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't like it.
I wasn't thrilled. My son missed his graduation, screwed up at the end of his high school life. So.
Yeah.
The other one was The Record Company.
Oh, I liked that.
The last song, yeah. And I saw your comment that said...
the Rita Mae Young song.
Yeah, I love the snare drum. Yeah. I'm reading your comment.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Love snare drum, like the slide guitar, like the vocalist, like the kind of R&B vibe to it, all kinds of stuff, yeah.
So that's actually one that I found on my Discover Weekly last week. Discover Weekly is a playlist that Spotify will put together for you. They kind of just give you stuff that they think you would like based on your listening patterns. And so that's one of the songs that I found on there, and I really liked it too. So I said, hey, I'll stick it on the playlist. Am I selling you on Spotify yet?
Not yet. Yeah.
Oh, I wasn't sure if you wanted to say something.
Think of it as a huge brick wall that you're chipping away at.
All right.
But I can always grow and learn. Richard's discovered that in the last 4 months, haven't you?
I'm trying. So I've heard of this Discover Weekly. I've heard a few people talk about how it's really good to promote stuff that you wouldn't have thought of listening to.
Yeah.
It's something that Apple Music doesn't really do very as well.
And then another way that I do find new music on Spotify is I will actually go, there's something called, it's an option on Spotify where if you like a song or you like an artist, you can go to that song or that artist's radio, and then you can find music that is similar to that song or that.
I may have to try this
artist.
Spotify thing.
Mm-hmm. Breaking down the wall. Chipping away.
I
hear they take 8 tracks. You can put an 8-track into your Spotify and it works. I sent you the picture of that Spotify radio.
That's right. Oh, that was a Spotify radio? I want one of those.
I found a lot of very 60s-ish kind of soul R&B type stuff.
I heard some Steely Dan vibes through it, by the way.
That was your first song, eh?
There was 2 or 3 where I thought I felt some Steely Dan. That kind of really laid-back West Coast. A few with
Kinda
slide
like,
guitar,
Almost like they call it like surf rock.
Okay, I'll buy that. Yeah.
Django, which I talked about on the episode.
Oh, there's surf rock?
Well, they're called like the British version of the Beach Boys.
Yeah, see, I had intended, based on that recommendation, to listen. I never did. I forgot.
I know.
I'll have to go back.
It's on my list of things to remind you to do.
Remind me to do.
I bought a special notebook just for that.
I'm tied up for the next 11 years.
So, Dave, are we going to talk about the elephant in the room?
I guess we have to, yeah.
I think
because I was listening this morning while working on my computer. The song changed over, and I was like, wow, this is great. Who is that? Harry Styles.
Yeah.
It's Harry Styles.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, can this be possible? There must be some mistake. Probably it's mislabeled or I'm reading it wrong or something. Lo and behold, it was Harry Styles.
Now, was it Kiwi or was it Woman that you were listening to?
It was Kiwi originally.
Kiwi.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's the first one that comes on, yeah.
I'm always willing to admit it when I've been blockheaded sort of thing. And when I ask these actors, why don't I like Harry Styles? I couldn't actually remember why, other than to say his name irritates me. And I don't know why that. I have to think about why that is.
That's his actual name, by the way.
Yeah, no, it is. And it just bothers me. And I don't like the way he dresses.
Okay.
So there it is, right? I saw some picture of him last year wearing that looked like a black. I don't know what it was.
So
I totally judged him on that.
Are you a Bowie fan?
Yeah.
I often say that David Bowie walked so that Harry Styles can run when it comes to fashion.
I think you've got a point.
Or dance.
I think you've got a point that's making me uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I have to rethink myself now.
Because Harry Styles' fashion is very, very androgynous. I do agree with that. But it's very similar to David Bowie's style.
Yeah, well, it took me a long time to get used to Bowie, because back in the 70s, I wouldn't listen to Bowie because of the way he looked back then. Mm-hmm. Now I don't care. So maybe I'll catch up to Harry in 30 years or something. By 2056 or something, I'll be there. But having said that, I really liked Kiwi and I really liked Woman,
yeah. So those are 2 songs off his first album, his first solo album.
He has more than one?
He has 3 studio albums now.
Yeah.
And they're all, I would say, very good. I appreciate them all.
I'm willing to listen.
Now, the most recent one is extreme. It has extreme 80s to it.
Right.
I would say it's like every song that I listen to on it, or not every song, but the first few songs give me kind of like a Peter Gabriel, Sledgehammer type feel.
Sledgehammer, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
I would give Harry Styles a chance.
Here we go.
I'm not trying to sell you on Justin Bieber, but I will try to sell you on Harry
Strike
Styles.
that from the record, please.
Yeah.
So I was quite surprised.
I'll have to mush that over in the edits or anything, so I won't try to sell you on something like that.
No, we can just beep that part.
Yeah, we'll beep it out. No,
Yeah,
I'll do it. I'll beep it out.
Yeah, we can beep it out.
I love it.
So Harry Styles too. I had seen, on TV or whatever. I'd never heard his voice, never heard a song. But the only thing is, he looks like the poor guy in Game of Thrones who gets castrated. So every time I saw him,
He looks like Theon.
the guy from the Iron Islands.
Yeah,
Right.
Theon.
Terrible scene. If you've
Theon.
yes, that's the one. Theon
yeah.
Lovejoy? No, not Lovejoy.
Greyjoy.
Greyjoy.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was no love. You didn't.
No.
Yeah, there was no Lovejoy.
No
after
Lovejoy
the
anymore.
castration. No.
Yeah.
And so I had never heard, and I was quite surprised when it came on. I was like, wow, so this is what he sounds like. It's very shocking. Shocking seems silly to say. I didn't know what I was expecting in terms of
all
a
kidding
voice.
aside, I honestly had no reason to prejudge him as I did, but I do that sometimes. It's a weakness. I have to work on that.
And I think it's because he is kind of like in the forefront of the pop scene right now, which I appreciate because I think that he is bringing some awareness to older sounding music or like kind of 70s vibes, 80s vibes. He's bringing some awareness of that kind of music to younger ears, which I think is great because then maybe they'll search for more and maybe we'll get a change in popular music and it won't just be the mumble rap and the whatever you want
to be fair, we had our crummy pop music back in the day too. There was a number of artists who their records were distributed glued to the back of cereal boxes.
Right.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, if I'm an artist and my 45 RPMs on the back of a box of Shreddies, so some kid peels it off, maybe I'm in the wrong line of business. You know?
I remember that. I had one of those.
Bobby Sherman, right? It was Bobby Sherman, right?
No, it was more recent than that. I can't
So
remember
we
who
had
that.
our crappy pop too. Just listen to it. That's all. You know?
Every era has its crappy pop, right?
Yeah, there was disco, but I made peace with that years later. You know.
Well, so maybe you make peace with Harry Styles years later, just like you did disco.
Anyway, somebody needs to let him know.
So I'm glad we skipped over the elephant in the room. I'm glad you guys are. I thought that's what you guys were referring to when you guys
Richard was
said
okay with it.
that
It was
you were
me.
sent
I
a bit
was
of
the
a,
bigger sell over there. You know,
Yeah.
sell over, is that right? No.
went through a bit of a spiral,
Yes.
an existential
So
crisis
where are we
of
back
sorts.
now?
Richard kind of gave us his view of the playlist. If you want to kind
just
of
before
point
you go,
anything
Dave,
else out.
I will say that I liked more songs than I didn't like. The majority,
Okay.
I think I'm at close to 90% of the songs I liked.
Great.
I'm not going to follow most of those artists, but like I said, I picked a good 5 or 6 out of your 29.
Who are some of the artists that you want to follow?
Dominic Fike,
Yeah.
Cage the Elephant, Briston Maroney, LJ, Harry Styles, and he's on my list.
There you go.
Noah Kahan, we said, and the record company. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, I would say like at the kind of 30,000 foot level, I generally enjoyed it. Anomalously, the first song I didn't, but then after that, I was like, this is good. Again, I tended to be trying to link it to styles. I was like, there was some very Motown sounding stuff in there. I found 3 or 4 that really sounded like, if I didn't know, they could have been from like 1968. Maybe not quite because the recording technology is better now, but they had that vibe. I liked the Tame Impala song better than the Tame Impala album I had bought.
Which one did you
Which
buy?
was Lonerism.
Lonerism. Yeah. Okay. So this one is off of Currents, which is one of my listen through albums.
Okay.
I love that album to bits. I had a really hard time picking a Tame Impala song because I think they are my favorite band. So I had a very, very difficult time kind of choosing which song to put on the list.
Right? It becomes personal.
Yeah. And I think that this one is one that most people tend to know or tend to like. So that's why I put that one on the list.
I bought Lonerism. I've currently got it hidden on my iTunes library because I do have a data limit on my iPhone. I need to get a bigger hard disk next time out. So
8-track.
8-track. So I've had to kind of in some cases hide a few albums. But I have to say that, and it was really Michael Brooks, the gentleman who was talking about it on the podcast I mentioned earlier, really sold it hard. I bought it and found myself not listening to it. I found it a bit too dense, a bit too whatever. So this was I thought, I like that Tame Impala.
Yeah.
I don't know because it's one guy you said, right?
Yeah, so it's Kevin
Australian,
Parker,
Australian
and
guy, I think?
he is Australian. He's a very good producer as well. He's produced a bunch of kind of current pop as well. But he's an insane talent, a great performer as well. Like when he performs, he's obviously with a band, but he is a very good performer as well. I've seen him a few times. But yeah, it was hard for me to come up with just one song.
Well, if you asked me to come up, you could fill in. I would sometimes have trouble pinning down, especially if a group has been recording for a few years and has their sound has progressed to some extent, right? You're kind of not sure where to pin it down.
Yeah.
I like to watch music reaction channels on YouTube, and I watch one called Rob Squad Reactions. It's a young couple. They're located in Oklahoma, as it turns out. They really do good reactions, and they try to mix it up. They'll put older stuff in, newer stuff, and they do 3 videos a day, 7 days a week. And they got 2 young kids at home. It's really impressive. And I find they just really do a good job talking about the songs. So I thought, I'll send them a recommendation today because I never had, and I wanted to send a Roxy Music song because I love Roxy Music.
Which
I sent
Avalon?
I sent Love Is the Drug.
Okay.
And I explained, I put some bullet points. I said, look, there's 2 Roxy musics. There's the 1972 to 1976 Roxy Music, which was a glam art rock, very UK band with a very, a sound that really didn't go over big in North America, except for Love Is the Drug. And then there's the later Roxy Music, still with Brian Ferry, still with Phil Manzanera, still with Andy Mackay, the saxophonist, but they became at that point the smoother, loungy Roxy Music, right?
Yeah.
It's 2 very different bands.
Yeah.
And from the earlier 72 to 76, Love Is the Drug is atypical because it's very tuneful and you could top 40. Their other stuff, I love it, but a lot of people it'd be too weird for them. And you can't even equate the two. So I sent it off and said, hey, you should try this, and this is the context. It's not Avalon. It's not More Than This. It's not Jealous Guy or whatever he was doing later. But it's a great song. And
is Jealous Guy like a Lennon color?
It was Neil Young. That was
Lennon, isn't it? Lennon? Jealous Guy?
Hold on. I'm sorry. You're right.
It is Lennon.
You're right. It's John Lennon.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. I have to... Richard, give me some voltage.
I missed that one.
It's a song John Lennon wrote for Paul McCartney.
There you go.
Yeah.
Hold on a second. I have to get into that afterwards. Yeah.
Whoops.
So, I got off on a tangent there, didn't I? Which I do sometimes. Yeah. Yeah, I like the Backseat Lovers. I like Cool House. I put here nice, easy vibes. Slide guitar is nice. There was some tempo changes I liked, and I just generally enjoyed it. The Growlers, I put the funk-like rhythm and percussion.
Yeah, so they're considered surf rock as well.
Oh, they are, right?
Yeah.
Really? I have to look that up then. Because I do like a real drummer.
Yeah.
I didn't like in the 80s, and I don't like now electronic drum sounds.
Right.
I do like to hear. I just like the sound of a good drummer.
Okay.
Yeah. That's generally speaking.
Yeah.
Now there are some bands from the 80s, a few that use the electronic drum kits that I can live with now.
Yeah.
But I still prefer to hear some guys or girls smashing away on the drums.
Yeah.
I just like that. Oh, I like Soul Fight.
I really like Soul Fight for the lyricism in it. The Revivalists are kind of considered like a big band because they are a 7-piece.
I put nice bluesy sound, which isn't much of a comment, but that's all I could come up with this morning.
It's funny, I put country-ish next to that one.
You did, eh?
Yeah.
Well, hey.
Which is not exactly my kind of thing there, but the one voice I really liked was Bristol Maroney. I want to go back to that freaking out on the interstate.
Oh.
I really liked that.
Oh, that was good.
Yeah.
That was good. Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
I'm glad you liked it because I think he has a bit of a polarizing voice, and he's one I found on TikTok as well.
I wrote down here, sounds a bit like Jake Bugg.
Yeah,
fair.
There you go. Very fair.
Jake Bugg.
Who? I think he's British.
Yeah.
He's got a very 60s, almost folk rocky kind of sound. Yeah. Really good. Really good.
Yeah, very good.
I'll put it on your list, Dave.
Yeah, what I put for Bristol Maroney, the artist who produced Freaking Out, I put the big distorted guitar, drums, and vibe. I like that big drippy electric sound. I like that. Yeah.
Okay,
that's
cool.
to my taste,
Very cool.
So I tended to not like as much anything that's a little bit bluesy or too country.
That's not your vibe.
Not my thing. No,
all right, that's fine.
Yeah. I wouldn't say I would run screaming if it was playing in the background. There's nothing I wrote hate.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
No, except for that McCartney thing. But you know what? Here's the thing. I'm going to listen to it again. Maybe I was having just some kind of indigestion or something. I don't know what it was. Yeah, an episode. Yeah,
maybe it was a reaction. We were doing too much testing of the electroshock.
That could have been it. Yeah.
I went over some of this, and like I said, I was a bit surprised that some of the artists that were, I'm going to say missing, but that's not the proper term here.
That's a good way to look at things.
Yeah. So I made a small list here of songs of music that my son makes me listen to.
Okay,
so if he ever hears this, and that he's ever listened to any of my podcasts,
I've heard of that condition.
I know. Apparently, it's a thing. I'm not sure. Maybe we talk too much at home. So we used to have a thing when he was small. We would do Saturday morning dance party. He'd come down, we'd play some music and whatever. And that's how, we got to listen to the Beatles and the Beach Boys and a bunch of stuff and Said the Whale and kind of stuff. And so as he got a little older and was, drifting a little, it still liked that music, but was playing a bit more stuff. So he introduced us to a lot of music that I never would have listened to.
Yeah.
Here's a small list. I don't know if you know any of them.
Given this is an audio program, it might be a good
I'm just
idea
giving her
to read the list.
I'm giving the witness a chance to review the discovery.
Yeah, okay. So I know a few of them. Okay. I know 3 out of the however many there are here. Kendrick Lamar.
Well, Pulitzer Prize winner. Right?
Yeah,
One of the few musicians to win a Pulitzer Prize.
He is.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
A Pulitzer Prize.
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
And he deserved it. Kendrick Lamar.
It's on your list.
He is an astounding artist and a great performer. And what he won the Pulitzer Prize for is an album called To Pimp a Butterfly. It is a fantastic listen-through album.
I thought the Pulitzer Prize was only given to achievements in literature.
Not just literature, but it's
Apparently.
because I think it's because it's a written
words,
it's a written word.
So songs qualify
Because he is a rapper. So
listen, if Bob Dylan can get a freaking Nobel Prize for whatever, anybody else can get a Pulitzer.
Did he win a Peace Prize? What do you win it for?
He got something, know.
See, Richard and I disagree here because I'm a Bob Dylan fan and also acknowledge his role in what happened in the 1960s. I know what he contributed. We differ on that. Ow! Sorry, Richard.
And then I do know Brockhampton as well.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, he's very good too. And then Stromae too.
Stromae.
Yeah. Adorandance. Yeah, so he's a French artist, but he has a very...
he's not French. He's from... Belgium.
Oh,
yeah, he's from Belgium.
Sorry.
Yeah, because he mentions it. He recorded a live album. He wanted to record a live album, and it was recorded in Montreal.
He comes to Montreal quite often. He was actually here last month, I believe, and put on
way in advance.
Yeah.
Your handwriting is almost as bad as mine. I'm sorry to interrupt. We were talking about this before. That's actually terrible. And it makes me feel happy to see it.
Yeah.
This is why in high school I had to use a typewriter to do all my homework. My teachers were giving me bad marks for handwriting.
I don't understand why.
Yeah. But the only person who can read it is a pharmacist.
And me, apparently. But I will take a picture because I would like to.
Well, there's a band here called Aesop Rock that I was listening to. What was I doing? I was testing something at home. Oh, when I got the Stream Deck and I was playing around. Yeah. And it just came on. I just hit, shuffle, and this thing came on, and I went, what the hell is this? And it was really good.
Okay.
And I told my son,
Do you know what Aesop is like
like Aesop Fables?
No, but it's a brand of not clothing. How do you say? Alex, help me out here. What's Aesop like the? Yeah, it's like a soap. It's like a fragrance.
Oh, you're right.
Look
at that. Formulations.
Yeah, so...
What was that fourth voice I heard?
We'll have to edit it out.
Yeah.
I think it's the shock that, Dave, you're hearing things.
I see. Yeah.
But yeah, Aesop, that's interesting because it's a very popular like soap perfume.
Okay. But does that have anything to do with the band?
I don't think so.
I'm
not sure.
Yeah. So they have like 5 or 6 albums. That was really good. And Dave, the lyrics in here are just superb. You got to watch this with the lyrics on. It's amazing.
Okay.
Amazing stuff.
Totally willing to do that. Yeah.
Okay.
Would I do that on the Spotify?
Yeah, there are lyrics on Spotify. That's how I did.
They do have lyrics on Spotify. Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I was doing this with some of the songs because there's one of them I wrote terrible lyrics, but I'll just leave it. I won't name names.
I didn't evaluate lyrics, quite frankly. I have a whole file on my computer somewhere where I have songs I really enjoyed where I've taken the lyrics and I put them into a Word document. So I just like having them there.
Yeah.
And I have my book of Bob Dylan lyrics because that wasn't a hard thing to find 30 years ago because Bob was known for his lyrics. Love or hate him. Yeah. And certainly I can think of many bands whose lyrics I love.
Yeah.
And they're to me, they're as important a contribution to the experience as the instrumentation. I mean,
I'm a big lyrics person myself.
Yeah.
So,
Richard, are you dissing Bob Dylan again?
Yes, I am.
saw that.
I am. Bob Dylan, Leonard Cohen, Patti Smith.
Yeah.
Fire them all into the sun. Some of them are well, one's gone, so we can't fire them into the sun.
But good songwriters, though.
Eh?
Good songwriters, though.
I always thought Leonard Cohen was overrated. I've got 3 or 4 of his songs in I've got Hallelujah and Manhattan or whatever it's called, but I don't find myself looking for them. What is it? Oh, Susanna, Don't You Cry For Me? Is that
Something
what he did?
Like that.
Okay,
no, isn't that the Velvet Underground one?
Oh, maybe. Yeah. Do you like Velvet? Do you know Velvet Underground?
I do know a little bit of Velvet, but like Lou Reed, I know more.
Well, he was one of the four Velvets.
Yeah.
And the one that you would know most because his career persisted in the 80s. But they were quite remarkable. I recommended in one of our earlier episodes that Richard try out their first album, which was recorded in 1966 and released in early 67 for various reasons. Mm-hmm. That is considered, with the benefit of hindsight, one of the most influential albums of the mid to late 60s.
Really?
Okay, yeah. I love the album. Richard, you didn't like it in the end.
I think it's overhyped. It was overhyped, and I was expecting too much from it because for, most of my life I've heard about, the Velvet Underground with Nico and whatever, and I'd seen the album cover so many times.
Yeah,
it's one of those, it's like Titanic. I never watched Titanic because it was overhyped. I refused to watch it.
I know what you're saying. So I get that with overhyping too. And the thing with the Velvet Underground is they were associated with Andy Warhol in New York City, right? Yeah. He was like their house band, right? Because he had a club called the Exploding Plastic Inevitable. Yeah. And he did their artwork on the first album cover. Yeah. Nico, who Richard mentioned, is I think a Hungarian or Romanian singer who sang with them. And I would give the album one listen. It must be on the Spotify.
What's the name of the album?
It's called The Velvet Underground and Nico.
And Nico.
And what made it remarkable was that early it was exploring themes like drug addiction, heroin, sadomasochism, all kinds of stuff.
All the good stuff.
All the good stuff. So it's not a happy album, but it's got a really unique vibe. Yeah. The way Love's Forever Changes has got a very unique sound for that. Did you listen to
that one? I listened to, and that one I liked.
Yeah,
I like the sound of that one, and I think going back to the Velvet Underground, I think is just
do go back to the Velvet Underground.
It's having heard so much hype for it for so long, and I think I was underwhelmed. I'm not saying I didn't like it. Right. I think I was underwhelmed.
Richard, you could not like the Velvet Underground. It's okay.
Okay.
Try Love Forever Changes.
Okay.
The band is Love. The album is Forever Changes, released in late 1967. They were LA-based. It's considered to be part of the psychedelic sound of that, but it's really not. It's a very gentle-sounding album. Lyrics are very discombobulating sometimes in the sense of what they're describing, but it's got this really nice groove to it. Every now and then an electric guitar shows up and makes a really kind of a big splash, if you will. It's one of my favorite albums, one of my desert island albums.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. It was on your list, yes.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, and now this ends dad portion.
How many...
Am I doing it again?
No, I'm saying...
Thank you for not shocking me.
We have a guest on, and we're telling her what to listen to.
No,
it's supposed to be the other way around.
No, I'm very happy about that.
So can I ask you what groups you've seen live and really enjoyed?
So
Dave scores a big one.
I had the privilege of going to Bonnaroo in 2014. It's held in Manchester, Tennessee.
Well, I heard about it from you. That's why you told me about it.
And so it's a 4-day festival held on a 100-acre farm in Tennessee. And everybody assumes it's a country festival. It is not. It's an everything and anything festival. Okay. The headliners my year were Jack White.
Oh, wow.
Kanye West, who was abysmal, and then Elton John was the closer for us.
Elton John?
Yeah.
Really? Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
But can we get Elton John from 1970?
He was pretty good, though. I don't know. To be honest, he was very good.
What kind of band did he show up with? Was it a big band or just was it him and his piano?
I was at the back of around 80,000 people, so I'm not quite sure what
80,000?
band. Yeah.
Wow. What's as big as that?
It's huge. Yeah,
right.
It's very big. And so during the day, they have, I think it's like 5 different tents, and they're all called names like this tent, that tent, which stage, like this stage, things like that. Yeah. So it's kind of confusing. But no, it's a really, really, really cool festival, and then at night it turns into an electronic festival. I saw All J there. I saw Tame Impala there. I saw St. Paul and the Broken Bones there, which is an album and I've seen them a couple times, and performance-wise, they're one of the best bands I've seen for sure, because they put on...
Tame Impala now?
No, this is St. Paul and the Broken Bones.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, they put on one hell of a show. And I actually saw St. Paul and the Broken Bones by accident, because I was waiting for another artist. I was waiting for Sam Smith, actually. And he was on a tiny little stage because he had just come out, and St. Paul was playing before him, so I had gotten to that stage early. And so I kind of stumbled upon St. Paul, but trying to think of who else I've seen. I go to a lot of concerts with my dad. Like, that's what I'll do for his gifts, is I'll buy us concert tickets. So we went to see Paul McCartney, which is amazing. Yeah. So I do tend to take my dad to concerts. That's kind of what I do for his birthday. Sadly, all of the good ones are dying out, but we're going to try to get there. Someone that we saw that we were a little less excited to see, because we just kind of weren't sure what it was going to be like, but that turned out to be amazing, was Don Henley, the Eagles.
Really?
His voice, it still sounds like he's 25. His voice has carried through the years incredibly.
Are you an Eagles fan?
I am an Eagles fan, yes.
There was a lot of Eagles on your original Thanks for the
That's
Yeah,
Education.
So
yeah,
there was.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
right.
yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah. We saw that and that was incredible.
Did you do Boys of Summer?
Yes, he did.
See, I always loved that song.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
That was,
It's a Don Henley classic.
Yeah.
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 I saw Queen, like a Queen cover band kind of thing with Adam Levine, or not Adam Levine, that is... What is
Adam
his-
Lambert.
Yeah, Lambert. Sorry, Levine is the Maroon 5. But yeah, so I saw that. That was good as well. One that we saw in, what's that amphitheater called where they hold like graduations and stuff downtown?
Sal Wilfrid Peltier.
Yes.
oh, is that what that is? I didn't. Okay. Yeah, fair enough.
I
Yeah.
saw Midnight Oil there, which was
They're still around.
still touring, you know.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
I saw
Gave
Beatle-
up on politics and just
Yeah, that's
decided
because
to-
that was
Yeah,
their
that was his
thing,
big
right?
thing.
Engines
Yeah, he
were
was a-
burning and
he was an
whatever.
activist. Yeah. I think he ran for Parliament too.
he did like hold a certain position.
Is that the bald guy, the kind of crazy
Yeah.
looking bald guy? Okay, yeah.
And that was really good too. I've seen quite a few concerts. I wouldn't be able to name them all. I don't remember any that I've disliked particularly, except I would say Kanye West. He would start a song and then stop and then go on a rant and then
Was he wearing a
restart the
full
song.
mask over his head?
He was, yeah. It was
Oh,
that. It was
really?
that. It was that era of
See,
Kanye
I thought that
West.
would be
I
no.
thought that was recent. I didn't realize he did that before.
And that
And
was
he
just
had-
for Alex Jones. Yeah.
He had been to Bonnaroo in 2008 previously and had done something similar and had shown up very late, which he did same thing for my year. And so a bunch of people were going around the camp, and you can kind of spray paint wherever you want throughout the
Yeah.
whole, like, they call it Centeroo, where all the event is.
like that.
People who were just writing like "fuck Kanye" on a bunch of walls
Really?
and stuff. So people who had like been at Bonnaroo
second
in,
that
in
emotion.
2008, yeah.
I think that was his campaign slogan when he was running for
It
president.
probably was. yeah.
Yeah. So those are kind of some of the concerts that I remember that have stood out to me for sure.
Is there any music that you really don't like?
Christian death metal is definitely not one on my
Okay,
list.
hang on a second. There's such a thing as Christian
There
death
is.
metal?
There
I
is.
went to university with a Christian death metal artist, and he was a very interesting person. I don't remember the name of the band. I could probably find out through some other friends,
Actually scaring me a bit, so maybe not.
but no, it was very
So
interesting.
what would that mean? What would define Christian death metal as Christian death metal?
I think the lyrics that are Christian, and then the death metal of it is the genre of music kind of thing.
Okay, so it's like heavy guitar driven
Yeah, screamo type stuff. Yeah.
and very religious, negatively religious lyrics.
I wouldn't even say like negative. Like I couldn't quite understand all of what they were saying, which is kind of the
They're screaming for you to join the
Right.
Lord.
yeah.
That must be it. Well, I think that's part
Essentially.
of the key to religion anyways, is people don't understand what they're saying, so that seems consistent, yeah.
So that's definitely one that I stray away from. There's a new type of music that I don't love, which is called hyperpop.
Hyperpop.
Hyperpop?
Yeah.
Right.
It's actually one of my good friends who is also somebody I work with. It's his favorite kind of music. And he will play it for me and tries to convince me into it. It's just like hyper produced and the lyricism isn't there for me, at least. And it's just kind of whiny to me.
And what would be one or two big hyper pop
He would kill me for not knowing
bands or
this.
something so if I wanted to go and hate it as much as you do,
Well, it says here the term hyperpop was coined by one of the guys from the Cocteau Twins, the old 80s band.
that's interesting that you say that. I found some really good documentaries
Malcolm
while Kat's looking
McLaren,
this up.
yeah.
You know, there was Channel Amplified that I like,
Yep.
and there's Trash Theory. There's some really good documentaries on the musical trends of the early 80s that I never really liked at the time. They're starting to put it into order for me. The Cocteau Twins, they were what was called Dream Pop. I didn't like that music at the time. I still don't seem to like it now, but I think it's maybe the precursors for some of this stuff that you're talking about. Somebody's always influenced by somebody. Right?
Yeah.
You know?
I don't know. I'm looking it up online and they're naming people like Lady Gaga and stuff like that, but I wouldn't even consider her to be hyperpop. Like it's really more like newer artists. Like I would say it's like a big Gen Z trend more than anything else. Yeah.
So Christian death metal, hyperpop. Yeah.
There's two things you. They feel like opposite ends of the spectrum.
I have to block off a couple of days of my calendar next week.
You're gonna go, on your iTunes library and just delete anything that comes close to that.
Probably, yes. Did you ever enjoy what they call shoegaze?
I don't know what that is.
So that's I think best exemplified by My Bloody Valentine, which you might have heard of.
Okay, yeah.
And I bought one of their albums and again, hit it almost immediately because I couldn't listen to it. Irish band, I think we're talking about the late 80s, and it was kind of like grunge was kind of just starting to percolate through.
Okay.
And shoegaze, the musicians tended to stand there and just look at their shoes while they were, kind of whatever.
Okay.
Oh, Richard, shoegaze, right? Does that mean anything to you?
Every teenage boy at the prom.
Fair enough. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah.
Guilty.
I wasn't even at the prom, so I couldn't gaze at my shoes if I wanted to. That's why home gazing at the TV. Have you got the definition there?
No, first band listed here, My Bloody Valentine.
I wouldn't really know that, so I can't
Well,
give you my formal
much there,
opinion
so
on
worry
it.
about that, yeah, sort of thing.
That's just shoegaze. It's like such a weird term.
Yeah, it's literally because the musicians would, I'm not joking, literally stand
Just
there.
stand there.
Yeah, the opposite to the Who say. Can we ask Katherine about, why am I asking Richard what I can do? What I've suddenly lost all my nerves.
Because I'm controlling the electric shock.
The electric shock device. That's right. Some older bands we haven't touched on.
Sure.
Like, do you like the Who?
I love the Who.
Oh, really? Eh?
Yeah.
Indeed.
I do love the Who.
Yeah.
I love everything about the Who. Yeah.
Lots to love. Yeah.
My dad actually says that's one of his favorite concerts that he's ever been to is the Who.
I bet he's with the same one I was at, things. It was in Montreal.
Yeah.
And we're probably the same age.
Yeah.
They came here in like 1980.
Something like that.
Keith Moon had died, sadly, so Kenny Jones from the Small Faces filled in. It was still Peter and Roger and John, and that was great. Sort of thing. But no Keith Moon, and that's a shame. Jefferson Airplane?
Yeah, Starship as well. I really like.
Starship, as they morphed into.
Yeah.
What? Don't go there.
Starship? No.
Richard, are you signaling to me?
Yes, I'm signaling. I'm actually electrocuting myself. Not Starship, no.
Well,
Airplane
okay,
fun.
3 songs.
Jane is like one of my favorite songs.
Yeah, I like Jane. I do like Jane, yeah. And yeah.
Yes, but they ruined the city on rock and roll, so.
Yeah, for that reason alone, honestly.
Just for that,
that
they need to be
erased all the
erased
progress.
from
I don't
anything
disagree,
before. They jumped the shark there.
I preferred them as the Airplane. Grateful Dead?
I'm not a big Deadhead, but I know it's a big, cult.
Yeah, where are you at on that, Richard?
I don't know. I tried. It's just, I don't know.
Yeah, it's
I think I just was never stoned enough, and Christ, I was stoned when I was younger.
Not that. It's like,
I just never got stoned
I remember
enough
trying
for the
to get
Dead.
into them, and you discover that a lot of the stuff is kind of very easygoing, almost country bluesy music. It's not what you expect.
Yeah, it is. It's very easygoing. It's like, and for them to have such a following called the Deadheads, you would think it's kind of like hardcore.
Yeah,
but it's really not.
That's not.
I think it's music to be asleep to.
Well, they were famous for the long.
Yeah,
they would play for
it's a jam band, right?
Yeah, for 12 hours or something like that. So their reputation was built in San Francisco in the mid '60s when they were very much more electrified.
Yeah,
but it's a group that evolved.
They still play today. They play with John Mayer quite often. Yes, they call it Dead and Company, and so he'll go and play with them, and they do those big long concerts where they're standing on like Persian carpets and stuff.
You nailed it. And it's the Persian carpets. It's kind of like the white turtlenecks and the flying cars. There's certain things that we were promised the future where everyone wore white turtlenecks and had flying cars, round radios. Are you with me, Richard?
I'm with you.
Work with me here.
This is from what's that animated show called? The Jeffersons?
Oh, yeah, the Jetsons.
The Jetsons.
Yeah, the Jetsons, yeah, that's right. Yeah, the Jetsons.
Yeah.
Any others? Any from back that you think of as, I love the so-and-sos or whatever?
I love ELO.
Oh, yeah, ELO, yeah.
I'm a big ELO fan. You're not a big ELO fan?
No, I love ELO. Yeah, they were great, sort of thing. Yeah, they were fantastic. They're the precursor band. There was the Move.
I don't know what the Move
MOV.
is.
You wouldn't. They didn't produce any hits, but they were like very popular in the UK for a couple of years in the late 60s. I say that because the only reason I know them is I bought a Move album in like a discount record bin at some point, and I recognized Jeff Lynne on the front cover because he was in the Move in the latter part of the Move. So precursor band.
I really like Fleetwood Mac as well. Is a big one for me. Rumors is a listen through album for me.
It's great. Yeah, it's fantastic.
And I think the story behind Rumors is so interesting that they just weren't speaking to none of them were speaking to each other.
Yeah,
and
lots of drams.
Yeah, and if you listen to, I don't know if you guys have ever listened to the beginning of The Chain, super loud.
No,
and
I've
you
not
can
done
just,
that. I know the song.
I think you can hear, it's one of the guys, it might be Lindsay, I'm not really sure who it is, but you just hear him go, fuck at the beginning of the song.
Yeah.
And it's just because
Stevie Nicks is pissing him off.
He's just so tired of recording this goddamn song that he's just like over being like in a studio with all the people that he cannot stand for like for
Apparently
life.
she's quite horrible as a person, I've heard.
I've heard great things about
Have you?
her. Yeah,
Really,
actually, because she has a very close relationship with Harry Styles.
Uh-oh. Because I've always been a fan, by
Like
the way,
he
of
calls
Stevie
her, he
Nicks.
calls her his rock grandmother. It's not like a sexual thing. It's like
That's appropriate and age-wise.
Appropriate,
Yeah.
yeah.
Maybe he likes older women. I don't know.
He does.
I heard somebody talking about her somewhere the other week. I don't recall where. And just saying that she was a difficult person to work with, lots of ego. And,
I mean,
okay,
I think a lot of people are at that age. You know,
unless they
she's
trust
quite
the art,
young.
not the artist, right? Like it was when you told me about Eric Clapton. I can't quite get that out of my head because Eric Clapton apparently is quite racist
Really?
and a bit of an asshole to work with.
Oh.
And for some reason, I can't quite.
That's a hard one to swallow. Yeah.
You know, it was like when Kramer made his technically
yeah.
racist rant.
Yeah.
I have not quite been able to enjoy
Seinfeld the same
Seinfeld.
way.
I want to say Kramer, Michael Richard, the actor who played him. I can't quite get over that.
But and I heard Van Morrison is also difficult.
Yeah, a bit of a jerk.
Yeah.
I agree.
But
Such
great
as it
artist.
is.
He's
Like
a
old
great
Vinegar, he didn't
artist
age
as well.
well.
Though. Yeah. He's another one that I also enjoy. His
Yeah, I
music
like
quite a
Van
bit.
Morrison. Yeah, for sure.
It's good. I like I had Moondance. I had the album played that repeatedly for a long time. Yeah.
That's a
Now
good
nobody's talked about rap or hip hop tonight.
I do like rap. I do like hip hop. It's not a genre that I'm super learned in, but it's something that I'm always like looking into because I think that there's definitely some value there for sure.
You're kind of a rap fan, right, Richard?
Oh, I am because my son has converted me. I'm not going to go into it because he'll hunt me down, but he'll put the electroshock on me.
You can always hide in my bunker.
But I think we tend, us of an older generation, we tend to give a bad rap to rap simply because some periods of it were not as appealing, if you want. Yeah, it's a good way to put it. As some of the stuff that's out today, and like the list I showed here. I mean, I can name the bands if you want here.
Quite a few rappers.
So this is what my son recommended to me. Mad Villainy. Great albums. Fantastic album. Oh, yeah. It's just... I liked it so much, I bought him the album, an actual physical album. We have no turntable in the house. Just so he could have a poster.
You don't have a turntable?
No.
That's an issue. Best Buy.
That's okay. Because when you realize what it was like to actually have a turntable,
well, I have my dad's old one, so
I have a really excellent turntable, but it's not hooked up to any amplification devices. It's up at the top of my cupboard here, but it's a really good turntable.
What I used to hate is coming home, putting on an album, and then 4 songs later, you had to get up and turn it over.
Yeah, that was exhausting.
My dad figured out how to get it to play through my soundbar. Yeah,
because I've got probably 400 albums in storage, and they were all purchased prior to September 8th, 1977.
We're sitting on a gold mine right now.
Oh, I call it the bunker?
The bunker, yeah.
A lot of stuff down there, yeah.
Scrub that.
Yeah.
OPSEC.
Yeah. Oh, I could dig up the albums and loan them to you. I don't
Oh,
mind.
I would love that.
It'd take too long now, but I've got everything, yeah.
Because I know you mentioned that you don't think that anybody gets together and listens to albums, but that's something that me and my friends do quite often.
I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah.
Now, Richard told me that. I didn't believe him.
Yeah.
He convinced me that's the truth.
Yeah. People still
get the shock again.
People still get together and listen to music.
Okay, so to continue the list, JPEG Mafia. I just love the name, JPEG Mafia.
JPEG, like the file format.
Yeah.
Yes.
JPEG Mafia, that's funny. Yeah.
And spelled the way that they do on the Mac, JPEG.
EG, right. Yeah. Okay, yeah.
Kendrick Lamar, Brockhampton, Stromae, which he had introduced to me one day by saying, my French teacher made us watch this video today. And we put it on and I went down and I listened to every single video I could find. It was just amazing. Aesop Rock, which we mentioned. And the last one was Run the Jewels.
Now, is it Aesop Rock or is it ASAP Rocky?
No, it's rock. It's rock. Yeah.
Oh, I've heard of ASAP Rocky.
Okay.
No. Is he a rap
pretty
artist?
Good. Yeah,
and
he's
is
a rapper.
it a he? I don't know.
He is
right?
a rap artist.
Unless I'm mispronouncing it, but it is spelled R-O-C-K.
He just had a baby with Rihanna.
In an attempt to be open-minded, I watched a 3-hour documentary on rap, and I thought maybe if I learn about it a bit.
But what kind of rap?
I don't know. The documentary was like 3 hours, is like on the roots of rap,
Okay.
how it started, the early artists, and I was surprised at how far back its roots went.
Oh, yeah.
Late 70s,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And I came out of it.
Well, because it all comes from R&B, like rhythm and blues,
There you
right?
go.
So, yeah.
And I came out of it, and I didn't feel one step closer to wanting to listen to a rap song. It made no difference whatsoever.
Okay.
I thought, okay, at the end of the day, it doesn't speak to me.
Okay.
I don't like its rhythms. Maybe I'll feel differently, and maybe I'll become a rap freak in 6 months. I don't think so, but I mean, I tried.
I'll make you a playlist of the stuff my
Yeah.
sons made me listen to,
please
and
do,
maybe you can recommend some things too, Catherine.
Sure. I mean, if you send us both a playlist, I can try to supplement.
Okay.
I'll listen.
And I think you should give a listen to Christian death rap.
Death metal.
Oh, I like Christian death rap.
Yeah.
So I thought
Christian death shoe rap gaze. What?
I've got the Billboard Top 100 artists here.
Okay.
I thought I'd run through a few names and you
Sure.
say yes or no.
Okay.
Dave, you can jump in too.
This is,
Yes or no?
this is going to be controversial.
What is the
Like, don't like.
Yeah, listen or don't listen.
So obviously number one, Taylor Swift.
Yes.
Yes.
I think she's a brilliant songwriter. Like, brilliant in the way that she knows exactly how to write a hit.
Okay, she's a good craftsperson.
Fantastic, like, craftsman when it comes to songwriting, yeah.
The last 3 albums, fantastic.
Yeah, and actually,
Honestly?
You're a Taylor
I
Swift
did
fan?
want to mention that
Know that?
her most recent album that came out, Midnight, is sold more copies of vinyl than it did CD.
Isn't that interesting? Yeah. Well, see, we come from the photography world where the same thing has happened with film, right?
Yeah.
You know, there's a whole film community. You still take film, right? Or not?
Film has outsold CDs.
Film has outsold CDs. I have to think about that, yeah.
I think the last 3 albums, I mean, the poppy stuff
Like
before, I'm not as much a
the-
fan. We're talking
you mean-
Folklore, Evermore, and Midnight.
Okay, because there's Lover as well that came right
No,
before
that's
that?
before. That's
Okay,
before.
yeah.
Yeah.
Is it her songs of broken relationships that attract you most, Richard?
It's very clever songwriting. The
Yeah.
lyrics are very, how can I say, they really tell a story and you can
It's
immerse you.
visual.
They're very 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 visual.
Yeah. Like she just knows how to write a song that people will get stuck in their head for days on end. Like she
Well,
just
that's a
knows
skill,
how to do
right?
it.
That's
yeah.
a skill, yeah.
And she's so talented. Like the talent on her is crazy. She's a very good like performer as well. I've seen her in concert and
So if she's on this playlist that will be developed, I will listen.
So I'll admit to you, if you were to do my Apple Music top listened album for the last 3 years,
Yeah.
or 2 years, Taylor Swift.
would be on there.
Yeah,
Interesting.
have to think this whole-
Mr.
Rethink
Rock
this
fan.
whole podcast.
Yeah. All has to do with the pandemic and burnout.
Yeah.
So it came out at the right time.
Right.
And, yeah. Okay, I don't know who this person is. I won't say it.
Well, can I see?
SZA.
SZA.
Sounds like
SZA.
a typo,
SZA.
maybe? A typo?
Oh, should add an
SZA.
L at the end. SZA.
She's very good.
So
Yes.
that's a yes?
Yes.
Morgan Wallen.
Country artist who's very
Really?
popular. He, I think, started on it's either X
got the
Factor
hair.
or American Idol. He's very popular. I don't listen to him, but I know that he is extremely
Seriously,
popular.
Kat could be making this up, and we wouldn't know.
You would never know.
We have no idea.
You could never know.
So Harry Styles, you
Yes.
said yes. The Weeknd.
Oh, love Harry Styles. I'm in. Yeah.
Okay, he said The Weeknd.
Yeah.
The Weeknd, yes, actually, I do listen to some Weeknd. He's from Toronto. He's Drake's protege kind of thing. But I want to say 2 albums ago, there's this one song called Secrets, and I love it because he sampled Tears for Fears on it.
Oh, yeah. I like Tears for Fears at the time, back in the day.
Yeah.
Brief career, though, they had.
Good though.
Okay, so oddly, the number 6 is Nat King Cole, which is a yes for
Because
me.
of
But
Christmas.
Right,
that
of course,
thing.
yeah. Okay.
Christian Death Christmas. Michael Bublé.
Because of Christmas.
Yeah, I know. Mariah Carey, Bing Crosby. Okay, let's skip a few. Drake.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Kendrick, we said yes.
Yes.
We'll
Drake
skip
was
this.
a rap artist, right?
Drake is a rap artist.
Is a rap artist.
Yeah.
He's very
Were you prematurely announcing his death?
careful.
Just got carried away there, yeah.
It's not something to joke about in the rap game.
Yeah.
Probably not, eh?
No.
Yeah, stuff happens to those guys, eh?
Yeah.
Luke Combs, don't know.
He is a very good country artist. Yes.
Oh, country. Okay.
Yeah.
Luke would have to be a country guy, yeah.
Yeah, he's wearing a baseball cap in the picture. So
That
yeah,
too.
there we go. Bad Bunny.
Yes, I have listened to him. He's extremely popular. He's a Latin artist.
Okay.
Latino.
I think he got mixed up in the whole Taylor Swift ticket master
He did.
fiasco
Yeah,
a couple
he
of weeks
did.
ago. His
Yeah.
name came up, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't know it was a guy,
He
just
did,
a person.
yeah.
I thought it was a band, but
21 Savage.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
A ringing endorsement. Burl Ives.
Don't know.
well, that's Christmas again.
I know.
Yeah,
Okay.
I know.
I was like, I don't know.
Ed Sheeran.
Yeah, sure. I don't like his newer stuff. I will put that out there. I think it's overproduced.
Did you see the movie yesterday?
Did you like it?
Yeah, I love that.
Okay.
Yeah.
where the guy can suddenly play all the Beatles songs.
Yeah.
Yeah, because no one knows
Yeah,
the Beatles.
no one knew them,
Ed
that's
Sheeran's
right.
in that. He plays himself.
Yeah, he plays
Okay.
it. He's
No, I remember
got a
that.
cameo.
Great
Didn't watch the
movie.
movie yet.
Great movie.
Have you ever seen the movie 24 Hour Party People?
No.
I would recommend. I would recommend watching 24 Hour Party, people. It's about Joy Division and the Sex Pistols and the Buzzcocks and that whole thing. Mostly about Joy Division and how the Manchester music scene, which I didn't know existed, so I learned that, started in the early 80s. It's really good. So it's a movie. It's a movie about music and that changing scene. It's really good.
That's
really
not
good.
like a big part of my musical
Mine
education.
either, honestly.
But I'll watch it.
Oh, it's great fun. Yeah, it's great fun. It's comedic.
Okay.
I have been 24-hour party people.
See, I never was.
A couple more.
Yeah.
Tyler, the Creator.
Very good. Yeah.
He's got great hair.
He does.
How do we feel about Ariana Grande? I know like one song.
She's an insane vocalist. She has got opera training and she's got a range like no other. Yeah.
Very small.
I only
she's
remember her.
tiny.
I remember her from kids shows. Like she was on
like Disney stuff. Yeah. But her vocal talent is unprecedented.
Okay, the big one.
Yeah.
You ready?
Yeah.
Billie Eilish.
I love Billie Eilish.
I've heard of Billie Eilish. Yeah. In fact, Rick Beato's a big fan.
Yeah, and her brother is insanely talented. Because a lot of her music is a combination of her and her brother, and her brother is a crazy production talent. So like the first album that she put out, they recorded in their shared bedroom, like in their house in California.
Oh yeah, I saw a YouTube video of her in
like
that
touring,
bedroom.
Yeah,
like I would never have remembered that.
I think it was like a James Corden like clip or something.
Oh, Corden, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's a guy who turned out to be an asshole, like James Corden. You heard that, eh? Sort of thing. That was disappointing because I was enjoying his karaoke, whatever he was doing there.
His carpool karaoke.
Yeah, that's it. But he turned out to be a jerk.
Yeah. Okay, how about the big one, Beyonce? Are we yes or no?
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm not like a big Beyonce fan.
Yeah, okay. Lizzo?
Yep.
And I'll do a couple more. Oh, no. Oh, this one I was hoping would be here. Lana Del Rey.
I love Lana Del Rey.
Never heard of Lana Del Rey. No.
I can't make the sound, but usually I make the shock sound now. Yeah, I love Lana Del Rey.
I love that. Yeah, she's very particular. Like her sound is very particular. It's nothing like anything else that's out today. She's a polarizing figure, I guess, in music, just because you either hate her or you love her, kind of thing.
Very West Coast, laid back, kind of beachy sort of. The videos are fantastic.
But then also just like kind of like she does like a lot of like ballads and stuff like that, like that are just like
very good, very slow. Yeah. And she's on the Taylor Swift album.
Yeah, and one of her albums, Ultraviolence, is one of my listen throughs.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah. Okay, we hit the top 50. I think we'll stop there because now we're getting into
the
Elton John.
Oh well.
Ew.
John is like cheese that's gone past its date.
Well, kind of, yeah.
Elton John is like the only person in like modern history that has had a number one single in every decade.
That doesn't surprise me. Yeah.
He even has a number one single now.
Yeah.
Really?
With Britney Spears.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting guy. I mean, all that music crammed into a small period of time, but he keeps burping out. You're right. Every decade or so,
he puts out
something that people listen to.
That people will like.
Mind you, he produced the hated Nikita.
Hated.
Richard hates that even more than I do. Yeah, taking all the hate over here on my end of the table.
I mean, you are the problems guy of 2023.
I'm bringing you my problems.
Own up, Richard.
No, I think like a lot of the artists of those days, they're past their heyday. And the Rolling Stones, same thing, right?
Of
I mean,
course.
haven't done anything good since the late 70s.
Well, you know, my brother and his wife who live in Florida went to see Rod Stewart a month ago. And I was like, you know what? It's a young person's game. I think that at a certain point, they don't want to see the Rolling Stones anymore or
I think
Bob
people
Dylan
will
anymore,
always want to see the Stones.
They want
though.
they want to, but you're not getting the same experience. I
who
think.
I've heard has still just like is a phenomenal artist is Bruce Springsteen. Like still phenomenal shows. Like he puts on like 2.5 hour shows.
Yeah, he's very
and he like goes.
Yeah. I was never a fan, frankly.
Really?
No.
Good stuff.
Yeah, I maybe 6 of his songs that I really enjoy, but I always thought it's one of those things that just didn't strike me the right way.
Interesting. I'm a big Springsteen fan.
Yeah, a lot of people are. I saw him once live.
Yeah.
This was when I worked at Avon here in Montreal. It was like a Wednesday afternoon, and my buddy came to my house and said, "We're going to go see Springsteen this afternoon in Toronto. I've got the tickets." I'm like, okay. So got in the car, drove to the airport, got to the Air Canada Centre in Toronto, and this is what I remember the most. So we're there, we all got suits on, and I really, at some point I'm thinking, okay, but there's the boss, the peoples, and we've all got suits. And in Toronto, it's all these business.
What year was this? Was
jerks.
Clarence there?
I'm going to say this was probably in the early 90s.
Okay.
I probably have the ticket stub somewhere. The thing I remember the most was we went in and I was like, we'd been in the office, flew to Toronto, got to the Air Canada Centre.
Yeah.
I needed a beer really badly. So the idea, we said, okay, you guys go down to the seats. It's 5 of us, maybe 6. We'll get the beers. And we're up. So there's the beer counter. So I get in line sort of thing like you do at the Forum. We used to get there. There was 2 sizes of beer. One was like, it was like a cup of beer, right? Like a kid's juice cup of beer, which was like $6 or something. And then there was like more. Then there was
Like a
bath of beer.
tall
whole
can.
thing, and it was like $18 or something. I said, okay, we'll take 6 $18 beers, right? So we load them up, kind of walk around, and right here is the doorway to go down to the thing. We're going to, my guy goes, hey, you can't come in here with those beers. I said, I just bought them. Like, you practically watched me. We just shelled out $72. Where are we supposed to drink them?
Here.
Up here. So, well, how am I going to do that? Like, how yeah, I said, in Montreal, he goes, yeah, this isn't Montreal. I was like, well, so somebody had to go down and say, guys, if you want, you got to come up and drink it. And you got to drink it. You can't sip it for the next hour.
No.
You have to actually drink it. So we sold them off to some other guys who didn't want to go through the line. Said, hey, we'll buy them off you.
The beers or the
The
tickets?
beers. No, the beers.
Okay.
And I think we went back and got the 6 little. No, we didn't. I've done it.
The sippy cups.
But what a dumb situation that was, eh? Toronto.
That's weird that you weren't
No
allowed.
style at all. No style.
no.
Zero style.
No 24-hour party
No
people
24-hour
there.
party people there. No.
No.
I think they would beg to differ.
Yeah, they would. I'm sure they would, eh?
They would as they go home at 1.
Yeah. Exactly. In their Priuses.
Pre-eye.
Pre-eye, yeah.
Okay. Any closing remarks, Dave?
I probably said enough.
I'll have to edit most of it out.
Yeah, I'm tired of being shocked.
Well, I want to thank you guys. I really enjoyed it.
That was fantastic, yeah.
I got some learning in as well, so it's good.
I think it was a great experience for us to be exposed to new music and new musical styles. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Great
I really
pleasure.
enjoyed it.
Yes.
Dave, next week?
Till next week. Onward and upward.
Oh no, we never hit record.